Welcome to Rantaz. Tonight we pay homage to the godfather of the zombie genre, George Romero. Though you are among the corpses, your name and deeds live on.
That a ghoul can be killed by a shot in the head.
Where does it say we should do any one thing but shoot the mothers in the head?
I'm killing these things, Sheriff.
Just shoot them in the head. They seem to go down permanently when you shoot them in the head.
Shoot them in the head.
You mean shoot them in the head?
Hold your fire, Tyler! Valentine!
They're infected. I told you. Shoot for the head.
Meanwhile, you're playing Resident Evil, and it's like, bitch, zombies coming up the hill right now. Shoot him in the head. Shoot him. Grab the shotgun. You don't need to load it. We did that shit for you. What are you pressing select for? You don't have time to make a profile. Bitch, zombies in the room. His axe is on fire. He killed your parents. Shoot him in the head. Shoot him in the head.
So how are we honoring the man himself? Looking at some of his past work, or perhaps Twilight of the Dead? Neither. We'll be taking a look at another path not traveled. What if George Romero directed
Resident Evil?
Yeah, for those not in the know, this was actually a possibility. And that's really kind of insane when you think about it, as his work was a direct influence to the Resident Evil series. This is like the director of Jacob's Ladder directed Silent Hill. It's mind-blowing. And not surprising at the same time, as back in the day to get hyped for
Resident Evil 2.
Romero did a live-action ad. If you're wondering why the remake had a live-action ad, that's why. The ad's the closest thing we have to an example of the movie, but it probably wouldn't have looked like this. As Romero said, he shot it in a very old Hollywood style. Before we talk about what we didn't get, let's take a look at what we did get. The Paul W. Guys, my wife is so awesome. Check out how awesome she is. Which is, yeah, that's true, but it's not an excuse. Anderson's
Resident Evil
series. Cards on the table. Once the movies went beyond Thunderdome. Oh, come on! I stopped watching outside of some reviews. However, as far as not shit video game adaptations, it goes Castlevania, Mortal Kombat, Resident Evil Apocalypse. On the live action side of things, at least Mortal Kombat has good fight scenes, and the
Resident Evil
movies actually have monsters from the game. Looking at you, Prince of Persia. And none of them were pushing their own weird agenda. Looking at you, Frenchie. Also, nowhere in Romero's script does the name Alice or Red Queen come up. Nor are there white rabbits being experimented on, and we do spend some time in the mansion, not in Area 51. I mean Groom Lake. I mean Wonderland. Anderson, Bolt, guys. You're not making this easy. Yeah, if you're ever wondering where the series Zombie Jesus came from, it was a loose reference to Alice in Wonderland. Apparently all the characters Anderson's
Resident Evil
had some connection to Lewis Carroll's work, but they were downplayed later on in development. Oh yeah, and here's a quote just to really piss off the fans. Alice is not in the game. She is an entirely Paul creation. With a little bit of help from Lewis Carroll, Bolt said. Even though the purists go, how can you bring in a character that isn't in the game? And we go, we're actually respecting you. We're giving you something extra. Yes, we respect you so much we sideline the heroes of their own story for our Mary Sue. Because we are fanfic writers. I'm going to have an aneurysm if we don't move on, so let's. Okay, because Romero's script is an adaptation of the first game and not a prequel like the Anderson film apparently was supposed to be. Okay. From here on out, I'm spoiling this game from the 90s. You've been warned. So, was Romero's script a fanficky mess, or was it more accurate to the source material? It would have been more accurate to the source material in the broad strokes, but differences in the details. Let's go with what stayed the same. A paramilitary team is attacked by creatures and thought lost, sending in a secondary team to rescue or complete the mission. The secondary team is attacked by the same creatures and forced into a mansion that is in reality a research facility creating bioorganic weapons and researching the Tyrant virus, known more commonly as the T-virus.
Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, Rebecca Chambers, Albert Wesker.
Fight zombies, hunters, Plant 42, Yawn, a giant snake, and Neptune, a weaponized shark, BOW. Traps are solved and they fight their way to the secret lab underneath the mansion, to the Tyrant, where the truth is revealed. The mission isn't to save the world from the dangers of the T-virus, but to acquire the data on it, for mass production. And their leader, Wesker, has betrayed them. The survivors fight their way to the top of the mansion for an evac after the installation's self-destruct has been tripped, culminating in a final battle between the Tyrant, Jill, and Chris in a Stinger missile special. Okay, so overall, very faithful to
Resident Evil.
Let's start with the changes that make sense first. The team, once in the mansion, stay together and don't really split off. There is some forced separation, but they do stick together for the most part. We have some red shirts for Zombie Chow.
I invite him in, dumbass!
There's a reference to a dual storyline in the game in which Chris takes a different path than the others to get into the mansion, then meet up. Also, Ada Wong is in this movie. She's referenced in the first
Resident Evil
game, and you can surmise that at one point she was in the mansion. And if they made a sequel, she would be a recognizable face. However, I was actually sure where to put Ada in these categories. See, Ada Wong is in the movie, but she doesn't act like Ada Wong, which is very in keeping with Ada Wong. She's a spy. Maybe every one word out of three she says is actually truthful.
You are mind-blowingly duplicitous. How do you do it? You just tear things up. You're a triple imposter. I've never seen anything like it. Is there anything real about you?
Whatever would have come for this, we'll never know, but if they were playing the long game, that's actually pretty cool. Also, Chris and Jill are dating. I mean, I see it. Always kind of assumed. I mean, there are many reasons why she's on my wall. The classic Romero changes. So Barry's black in this, and that's very Romero. Yeah, there's usually a badass African American in Romero zombie movies. It's just kind of how he rolls. It's like Burton, his stable of actors. It's a choice he tends to make, and I honestly have no problem with it. Barry was a big bear of a guy with a magnum. Nothing about him was particularly Caucasian. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Romero wasn't a fan of the system. As the man said, Day of the Dead came from this sentiment at the time, that we should give up on everything, the government, the military, the financial system. It began looking as though we were building a house of cards. So we cut to a few odd scenes of a man in Washington in a very Doctor Strangelove way that kind of derails the action or the suspense. Okay, now the changes don't make any sense. This one's minor, but the titular mansion wasn't called the Spencer Mansion and was an abandoned bootleg mansion, retrofitted for Umbrella's uses, and not just the Spencer estate. Nothing is served by this change. They don't use 100-year-old booze to burn anything. Hell, it makes even less sense into the contents of this movie, as going in we know it's a black site. That hand waves any weirdness they encounter construction-wise. Next one. Chris is Native American, and a farmer. And no one here is a STARS member. Hell, they're not even RPD. Yeah, the closest comparison I can draw is UBCS. But Chris isn't even military, he's a civvy. I understand why, but it just sucks for Chris. However, in Romero movies, the zombies are not what causes conflict. People cause conflict. And he needed someone outside the chain of command to cause problems, and chose Chris. Next up on strange character choices, Wesker. He's kinda lame in this. He isn't working undercover in STARS for Umbrella to manipulate his team to get combat data on the battles, but in reality is working his own agenda, or blackmailing Barry for his compliance. He's just here for the data on the Tyrant to sell back to Umbrella. It's strange how a game character made of blocky pixels is more three-dimensional than a version portrayed by an actor. The bug creature Chimera and the hunter BOW were turned to one creature for this movie. This would likely have been changed to one or the other, as the Chimera were scarier than the hunters, but the hunters were easier to produce, and this homogenized whole would probably be pretty hard to make. Also, the explosion from the mansion is so powerful it's enough to destroy Raccoon City, and some zombies still escape. So this was definitely not the final draft.
Hey, George. Looking at the script, and we have a few notes.
Yeah?
Remember that advertisement you shot for us?
Yeah?
That was for the sequel, remember? We can't have you evac, then blow the town to hell. Or infect it that fast.
What's wrong? Snake! Snake!
Funny bit of trivia. Remember that infamous laser scene, the one that probably has a bigger body count than the first movie than any zombie or bow, that wormed its way to
Resident Evil.
Yeah, that one. It's in Romero's script. Except it's way better. They weren't lasers, but pressurized acid, and none of the human characters get taken out, but we do get some zombie gore as they dissolve. And the acid bath makes way more sense than the whole building going maximum overdrive on the people that work there. Also, here's what some reports say our two male leads would have been. Kurt Russell as Chris. And Peter Stormare as Wesker.
Also, George, the dialogue is coming off a little corny.
Have you played your game? No, wait, sorry. Have you played the English version of your game? Keeping the tone of the source material? Or being a troll? You make the call. And yeah, I know his secretary played the game and videotaped it. I get actors, but why can't directors and writers be bothered to burn down a weekend and play the damn game you're adapting? I'll let you play on easy mode. Seeing how this is a Romero zombie movie from the 90s to the early 2000s, I want to believe that Tom Love Machine Savini or Greg a Dead Walker Nicotero would be the ones doing the effects on this, which means they would be stellar instead of just serviceable. So, big question. Would this have been better with Romero's script and probably Romero's directing? Remember, I actually liked the first two
Resident Evil
movies. Of course! Yeah, the script needs a little doctoring and I would cut yawn for money and time, but good lord, yes. Would it become the bloated mess of a money-making franchise? Probably not. But it could have kicked off a video game renaissance much like The Dark Knight did for comic book movies. However, what else could have happened? We probably wouldn't have Land, Diary, or Survival of the Dead. Romero made Land of the Dead in the wake of his frustration with Hollywood. His
Resident Evil
script being rejected, among several other failed projects. No doubt playing a huge role in Romero throwing in the towel and returning to his independent world. Which, for at least 3 good Resident Evil movies, I would take the bullet of losing the last 3 of the Dead movies. What else? Would
Resident Evil 6
still been a mess? Yeah, despite what you might think, Call of Duty actually did more to damage the games than Anderson ever could. In 2012, series producer Matsuchika Kawada told Gamasatra that he felt the series needed to head into that action-oriented direction, especially as related to the North American market. Capcom believed that the implementation of these Call of Duty aspects was a way to get that sweet, sweet Call of Duty money. Producer Hiroki Kowashi admitted that the development team only put zombies in the game because they're popular, and the developers tried to respond to the fan request to put them in the game. Man, I'm happy that blew up in your collective faces. Yeah, despite the altered reality, we would still have the Bakers, so yay causality. So why didn't Romero's get made? Well, the most well-known reason is a producer at Capcom read the script and just didn't like it. However, PlayStationLifestyle.net has a different reason. Romero citing an executive misunderstanding of material and later reports implying the issue was violence. Romero's script would make the material unwatchable in the company's own country, and Paul W.S. Anderson would eventually come with something safer? Neutered? Missing the damn point. You get where I'm going with this. So that's some bullshit. Oh no, I'm sure given the censor restrictions in Japan, dissolving a corpse in acid would not fly in a movie. Games? Oh, that shit's a Tuesday. They could have just released it internationally. Or, worked with the director that has instant brand recognition who you are still to this day cribbing from, and finding a common ground between the two of you. You went with Anderson, whose IMDb page can pretty much be summarized as, I make movies for my wife. Sorry, my bad. I make movies to show off my wife, and I take gore out of adaptations. And my own movie. And if for a moment, can we all be honest with ourselves? This franchise would not exist in movie form without Mila. No one was coming here for clever writing or horror. Or hell, even action. On a completely unrelated topic, here's a production photo from Monster Hunter, another Anderson film. I can feel the aneurysm coming back. Just name the character Mila this time and save us all some headaches. Well, enough of me jarring on. Here's your blue zombie. That's light rum, blue curacao liqueur, pineapple juice, cream of coconut, crushed ice. Hope you enjoyed this send up to George Romero. Rest well, O godfather of ghouls. You will be remembered. Hope you consider being a usual patron, or maybe just giving us a tip. As always, like to appease the algorithm gods, all praise. Share this video with friends, subscribe, and ring that bell.